For years, I poured everything into the daily grind, not out of ambition, but out of necessity. The sterile walls of the workplace drained my energy and spirit daily. Each paycheck I earned felt less like compensation and more like a ransom paid to a system that demanded everything in exchange for nothing but stress and frustration. Surrounded by barbed wire and security cameras, the building stood isolated off an old country road, a stark contrast to the small field nearby, now scarred by sprawling solar panels. Inside, the hum of hard drives and telecom equipment was constant, numbing. It felt as if the very walls were feeding on my spirit, leaving me depleted. What did I have to show for all my effort? The paycheck in hand felt hollow, compensation for the slow erosion of my soul. I had become a prisoner to a system that gave little and demanded everything. It wasn't until I escaped to a quiet spot in the woods that something began to shift. Setting up my tent, gathering wood. And lighting a fire. Each simple act restored a calm I hadn't felt in years. As the fire crackled and the smell of wood smoke filled the air, the weight on my shoulders began to lift. It was in that stillness, away from the sterile environment of the office, that I remembered to be still and know that He is God. How had I become so disconnected from what truly mattered? At work, I built telecom circuits for people I would never meet. Practical, yes, but devoid of meaning. But here, surrounded by nature's stillness, I felt alive again. The contrast between these two worlds was striking. One drained me, while the other filled me with life. I recalled Christ's words, "For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul. Though the verse speaks to those driven by the desire for material gain, I saw that I too had been losing myself in a relentless pursuit that ultimately led nowhere. We often find ourselves ensnared in this relentless race, laboring not for passion or fulfillment, but merely to stay afloat in a world that demands more than it ever gives in return. We convince ourselves there's no other way. But in the quiet of the forest, I began to see things differently. True peace wasn't in the things I could acquire, but in those quiet moments of surrender, when the dawn chorus ushers in the morning, the leaves sway gently in the breeze, and the stillness of nature reflects the Creator's presence. My time in the woods wasn't merely an escape from modern life. It was a reckoning with the imbalance that had crept into my soul. Even as a believer, I had allowed myself to be consumed by a world that drains our ability to be useful, creative, and passionate. I had been distracted by the endless demands of bills, taxes, and the corporations that dominate modern existence. But in the stillness of the woods, I was reminded that true peace is found in Christ alone, not in the constant striving for what the world promises but never delivers. For those who don't yet know Him, peace may seem elusive. Many seek relief in nature or in moments of quiet reflection, but these are only glimpses of the deeper rest God offers. Christ's invitation remains, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, and ye shall find rest unto your souls." Without this divine rest, the soul stays unsettled, endlessly searching for meaning in achievements, experiences, or material things. But in Christ we discover lasting peace, a peace that sustains even in life's most trying circumstances. This is the peace that comes from knowing you are accepted by God, not because of what you've done, but because of His love and mercy. Even believers can lose focus, caught up in the relentless chase for more. I sought temporary relief in the woods to escape a world designed to drain every ounce of energy and creativity. The woods became more than a refuge. They became a space to realign my priorities, to let go of distractions, and reaffirm what truly matters. Returning to the office felt like stepping back into a cage. The cold hum of the air conditioning echoed the emptiness of the work. How many of us live this way, trapped by enclosing walls, longing for something more? Like most people, I chased security in paychecks, scrambling to keep up with the bills, maintain the home, and meet the endless demands of life. But it was a hollow pursuit. Every dollar earned was spent in the relentless struggle to survive. The truth had been there all along, but I was too consumed by the grind to see it. Though the work provided adequate compensation, it lacked any real meaning. Day after day, I sat in that lifeless space, remotely manipulating circuits, feeling disconnected from any true sense of accomplishment. Most of my earnings vanished into taxes, heat bills, insurance, food, and a slew of other expenses, often unpredictable and never-ending. I felt like nothing more than a cog in a vast machine, existing solely to keep things running and provide for my family. It wasn't wealth I was chasing, it was simply survival. Why does life have to be this way? I felt trapped in a prison of my own making, yet the weight of society's expectations played its part too. The pressure to stay afloat weighed down every corner of my life, filling my mind with endless worries about bills and responsibilities. I never lived in luxury, but every month the demands of modern life filled my home as if the walls were built not with wood and nails, but with debt and obligation. At work, I would escape to the nearby woods during breaks, walking among the trees. There, I felt a flicker of life return. The trees, the wind, the earth, these things were real, untouched by human greed. In those moments, I questioned the path I had chosen. Was this what life was meant to be? An unending struggle just to make ends meet, to keep up with the cost of survival in an expensive world? Or could there be a simpler, quieter way to live, one free from the weight of societal expectations and cultural demands? In the quiet of the woods, I began to understand the difference between the temporary and the eternal. The tranquility I found there was just a sign along the trail, pointing me back to the peace I already had in Christ. This calmness wasn't an end in itself, but a reminder to rest in Him. True peace cannot be found in things that fade. It's a gift that anchors the soul in the assurance of salvation. Eventually, the answer became more clear. I could no longer live this way. My children were nearing the end of college, and soon I'd face yet another financial burden, replacing the old car, a symbol of the never-ending cycle of material needs. I realized I had been living not for myself, or even for my family, but for the very system I despised. So my wife and I decided to leave that life behind. We downsized and relocated from New England to a simpler place in the South, closer to family, where the burden of taxes was lighter and the pace of life offered more freedom. The move brought relief, but what I sought was deeper still. I began camping alone in the nearby mountains, setting up a tent, building a fire, gathering wood. These were not just tasks, they were acts of rebellion against life's tyranny. Each piece of wood I split reminded me that survival could be simple, that life didn't have to revolve around money. In this simplicity, I found the land I truly needed, not a vast estate, but a place in my heart where I could sense God's peace. I realized that in the end, as the saying goes, not once have I ever seen a hearse towing a U-Haul. What we leave behind isn't the wood, hay, and stubble of material wealth, but the gold, silver, and precious stones of a life conformed to Christ. If any man's work abide, he shall receive a reward. If any man's work shall be burned, he shall suffer loss. In those quiet moments, I felt a peace that had long eluded me. I brought along an old manual typewriter, sitting in an open field, tapping away, reflecting on how far I had strayed from what mattered. I had been chasing the wrong things: money, comfort, security, when what I truly needed was peace. Peace that can't be bought, only found by letting go of the unnecessary fluff and embracing life's simplicity. The scriptures spoke to my soul. For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? I had spent years chasing the world's version of success, ignoring and losing sight of my soul's true needs. In the stillness of the mountains, I could see clearly. Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven. I came to realize that the things I owned, especially my home and all the upkeep it demanded, had quietly begun to own me. Here in the mountains, I found what my heart had sought all along: simplicity, stillness, a life free from the crushing weight of the world's endless demands. Better is little with the fear of the Lord than great treasure and trouble therewith. It was never wealth or possessions I desired, only the means to endure in a world where the cost of living pressed upon me at every turn. Yet what I needed had been before me the whole time: the warmth of the fire, the noise of a gentle stream, and the quiet embrace of the woods. In this simplicity, I discovered the true home my soul had been seeking all along. In the woods, where the fire shares its comforting warmth, the trail winds toward breathtaking views. And the air whispers of God's sufficiency. I didn't seek rest for my soul. For I already had it in Christ. Instead, I found a renewed perspective. Free from the distractions of modern life, I saw how easily we lose sight of what truly matters. The woods became a place of realignment, inviting me to step away from endless striving and live simply in step with His truth and the life He calls me to. It wasn't nature's stillness that renewed me, but the time and space to re-anchor myself in the peace I had all along in Christ. My hope is that you, too, will experience that same peace and salvation in Him, living with purpose and resting in His grace forever.